Cowboys news for you guys today. Obviously, by now I'm guessing the majority of you know it, but nevertheless, I wanted to set up here and at least talk about it a little bit. A little bit of an impromptu stream tonight. So, as I get us launched on Facebook as well now. Good. Cool. Alright, so we are on both platforms here. Also on Twitch and Periscope as well. I wanted to say Twitter, but that's, technically, but not really. Shout out Buddy Johnson. He's back, DDP. I haven't gone anywhere, buddy. I've been right here. But it has been a little bit, I guess. It's been a minute since I did just a pure Cowboys video. So I get where you're coming from in that regard. Marquise, what's up? Big Game James, I see he's joined in on the Facebook page. So there we go. So the big news of the day, for those who, I'm guessing most of you have already seen the highlights since this news broke around 2:15. But Randy Gregory has been reinstated to the league on a conditional basis. Now, basically that means he's going to be cleared to practice and play for the team, but they will still be kind of keeping tabs on him, making sure that he's progressing and staying basically clean and all of that. I pretty much expect him for the rest of his career to get drug tested at least twice as often as anyone else on that. But we'll see. So, let me take a look here. Now, for those wondering about Randy Gregory and his particular, what he can bring to the team, right? Well, there's no doubt that he's got all of the natural gifts that he could be a monster pass rusher. His biggest hang-up, obviously, has been, I think there's something more deep-rooted with him. I don't think it was, clearly with the guy's dependence on the substance, in this case marijuana, there's nothing that you can look at and say, well, it's just pot, he'll get over it. Clearly, it took a lot of work for him to get over that, and I think that there were people who raised those red flags in the draft when we took him, including, I know locally, the guy who I think was the most right on top of it was Norm Hitzkiss. Now, when he talked about it, he put into perspective that, yes, Gregory, if there were no red flags, his talent is a top 10 pick. At least a top 15. I would say probably top 10, because the dude has length, he has athleticism, he has bend, he has speed, everything to be a monster off the edge that you would need. What he didn't really have was a good head on his shoulders initially, it seems like. It wasn't just the classic case of like, oh, the guy smoked a little pot in college, whatever. You'll get him on your team and you'll get his head right, he'll be better. In his case, what we came to find was, well, he failed a drug test at the combine, which, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what a red flag would be. But that automatically counted as his first strike, was failing at the combine. So that scared some teams off, because it's like, dude, if there was like ever one time to stay clean and not do anything, the combine is probably it. Then, throughout his rookie year with the Cowboys, 2015, he has no sacks, plays in I think 15 of the 16 games. I know he has, of 48 potential games he could have played in his career, he's missed 30 of them because of suspension. But he had multiple failed drug tests, even once he got into the league with the Cowboys, and that severely hampered his ability, I think, to do more. And I think it just got to him. I think his frustration was palpable, and it really took a toll on his mental health and everything. And as a result, we found ourselves here without him he played, I think, 2 games in 2016, none in 2017. But his return could be at a good time. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that because he missed all of that year with a suspension, I think rather than being a free agent at the end of this year, I do think that we have him another additional year. But I'll have to double check that. I haven't seen a clear indication yet to confirm or deny that after the news broke. So, run through the chat here. Shout out to Buddy Johnson, Marquise, Manuel, Corona. Let's see here, buddy saying, just think brother D-Law on one side and Randy Gregory on the other side. Yeah, man, I'm really excited to see what he can bring to the table. Now, on one hand, yes, from a technical standpoint, he's missed a lot of developing time, especially not being able to practice with the team. I think that's the hardest part for him. But he does have such a natural gift that I think that you will see him contribute this year. The question is to what degree. And with DeMarcus Lawrence in 2015, he had a nice year. That was his first good year where he put forth a strong performance. I think he had something like 8.5 sacks that year. That helped, but now you have a much better DeMarcus Lawrence, assuming he's healthy. And after 4 games, you're going to also bring David Irving back into the mix, who can also be a game wrecker. I think there is enough depth on this defensive line with Gregory now that he's going to get one-on-one matchups. I mean, when you looked at his 1 sack he got in 2016, when he sacked Carson Wentz, he beat an all-pro left tackle in Jason Peters. So he's got the ability. I mean, he might be the young buck, but he can absolutely blow past you if you aren't ready and you aren't looking for it. But we're just going to have to see. His ability from a physical standpoint can make up for a lot of what he might lack in development time and practice time. And that might mean that, assuming we have him under contract next year as well, and he's not just a free agent after this year, that it'll be then that you can really look for better things for him. It's kind of a weird situation because he was drafted in the 2015 draft. At this point, it should be like the season where you're like, okay, flourish, sink or swim, show us what you got. And instead, it's kind of a situation where you look at him and say, is he kind of a rookie? Like, not a rookie, I guess, a sophomore. He played pretty much all of 2015, but I don't know. He had that high ankle sprain that kind of stunted his development out of the gate, and then you could see his frustration build. Of course, 2015 was a frustrating year for everyone involved, not just the fans, but the team as well. Just devastated by injuries, and that was just a miserable, miserable campaign. And low-key, it was actually a great year for the offensive line. It's just a shame that they didn't have a dynamic home run hitting running back behind him. They had a solid one. I think McFadden had that one last year of pretty good running back in him. I think he was 4th or 5th in the league in terms of overall rushing yards. And that's with not really getting to start until something like week 6 after Joseph Randle already spontaneously combusted and then ruined his NFL career and generally life. But that's a different matter. So, by the way, if you guys got some questions or any topics of anything in particular you want me to dive into, hit me up in the comments. Make it a little clear for me where you want me to go with this. I've been doing a bunch of streams lately, and I kind of like this back and forth give and take we do here. So, let's see here. Check something on my end. I win easy. Shout out, shout out. If you saw a New Jack City, you'll know better than put too much pressure on a... He put on a Pookie. I think he meant rookie. But, no, that's a valid point. But at the same time, he's not a rookie, at least from a mental standpoint in terms of studying and all of that. You would hope he's more developed than that. He did have the one full season in 2015, and he's been around the team. Obviously, with suspension means he can't be around the team too much. But you got to think he's more developed in terms of the mental game than that. From a physical standpoint and working on some of the little things, maybe there's some question marks there. But it sounds like he's been staying in shape. He's been working out with, the guy's name escapes me. I want to say it's an Oakland defensive end he's been working out with over this past couple weeks. And so I think that's going to have an impact as well for what he doesn't just get to flash in terms of his physical dominance. I think he will have an aspect of kind of learning some of the techniques and nuance as far as pass rushing. So I expect him to be better than a rookie, sure, but I'm trying to scale my expectations for him, and that's why I'm leaning on this being a better defensive line now than it was in 2015. Plus, he's put on considerable muscle compared to that wiry kid that came out in 2015, where you basically looked at him and said, he's got long arms and bend. He's going to need that bend because he's not going to be able to just plow past guys. So we'll see. Cookie was the drug addict in the movie. Right. Over my head, unfortunately, at the time. Let me see here, Manuel. If we get Gregory back in good football shape, what do you think our D-line rotation will be? Or what would my D-line rotation be? Well, once you have him back from suspension, you'll have Lawrence and Irving. I don't know that you plug I should put Randy Gregory in as a starter necessarily just yet, but you make him an important cog in that. I'm curious to see what Coney Ely can bring, honestly. I know I think Big Game James had him on his kind of watch list for a surprise camp cut, possibly. I could be wrong on that. He's watching, so I don't want to make him too angry if I'm misquoting there. Well, shout out, James. What's up? But I do think that I'm not sure exactly what the starting lineup for the D-line looks like necessarily. I do think you're going to see a sizable role for Gregory. It just depends on what he can show them in training camp. That's the thing. He's now going to be cleared to play and, return to training camp. And that's going to be the first chance that the coaching staff really gets to look at him in a long time. They might have seen like some workout tapes and things like that, but I don't think it's the same as getting a chance to really see where he's at. So until we start camp in, it's just like a week now, until we get to that point, I don't know that there's a real good gauge on where he's at and therefore what the defensive line could look like. But we do have a lot of guys there that are intriguing for sure. Let me see here. You have to look at him strictly as an extra lineman, but I hope the best for the... Yeah, no, I agree with you. I win easy. I think that's exactly right. You have to look out for his well-being as a man and as a person in general before you worry about that. Everything else is secondary, but it sounds like, he's not failed. Rather, he has passed every drug test since, I want to say, October 2016, the last one that popped him for the year. But I'm not entirely positive. It's something like that. It's either late 2016 or early 2017. He's passed every drug test since, so he was able to go to the league with all of that paperwork. He had all these different people vouching for him. He was able to show, like, look, here's this facility I went to for treatment and therapy and all of that. I'm in a better place now. Here is all these different people, teammates, coaches, acquaintances, things like that. Just a plethora of people who were able to vouch for him and say, no, he's turned his life around. He's ready to do this. So I'm hopeful. I really am, because if his head's on right, his physical talent, I'm not kidding, his physical talent is enough that he has the potential to be the best defensive lineman on this team. The best defensive end, all of that. He could be that war daddy that we've been looking for. And his return comes at an interesting time, too, because we're in the situation where we are with DeMarcus Lawrence. We might not have DeMarcus Lawrence past this year because we did not reach a new long-term deal. It would have been something like $17.5 million per year to sign him now. If he balls out like last year, it might be 20 or more million. And I'm not really that comfortable throwing that kind of money out there for him given his back history. Now, I know that that's a complicated one. It's a little divisive, I guess. But I still think that at the very least, if Gregory is reinstated, stays clean, and develops like you thought he could be a really good insurance policy on that front. Shout out Darreck. Probably a third down rusher to start out. I think that's a good assessment. Yeah, I absolutely think so. Passing down with his burst and everything, that could be really good out there. Manuel, I'll be out there in August. Can't wait to see everyone we have now. Oh, sweet. So you're going to be in Oxnard then? Or do they do the second half of camp this year in San Antonio? I think it's just Oxnard. I could be wrong. Regardless, though, that's awesome, man, especially if you're going to Oxnard. That's something that I really want to do one day. I think Big Game James and Producer G and maybe even Law are going to be out there for that. But I will not be as fortunate this year, unfortunately. But I'm going to definitely try and get out there and get some kind of access or whatever. Let's see. Shout out Andrew Decal. Call. I'm trying. Steeline looking fierce and hungry. How about we go get Kenny Vaccaro or Trey Boston or Bolster? Man, I'm more interested in the second guy you listed there. With Kenny Vaccaro, they're not going to look at him. They have given every indication. Oh, Manuel says it is Oxnard. Yeah, that's legit, man. Italian Cowboy. There you go. Shout out. He is like that insurance Aflac. Yep, that's a good way to put it for Gregory. But to answer Andrew's statement like I was before, I don't think that they're going to look at Kenny Vaccaro because they've given every indication that aside from the possibility of acquiring Earl Thomas, they don't really like the free agent market currently for safeties. And that rules out Eric Reed. Of course, he also is one of the predominant flag, or rather anthem protesters. And because of the narrative surrounding that, that pretty much rules him out. Then you could look at the possibility of DDP. What up, Italian Cowboy? Then you could look at the possibility of Boston. I like him a lot. I kind of brought up him as a possibility previously, but the fact that they haven't moved on him and that I've heard no even inkling that they're going to makes me think he's not to be considered, really. I think that there's a reason the Earl Thomas thing won't go away, and it's not just because we're trying to find things to talk about before training camp starts. Earl Thomas himself seems to be really fanning these flames. Now, maybe that's just a desperation move because he really wants either a new deal or to be traded, and so he's trying to fan these flames and make it just sweltering hot so that the Seahawks panic and either give him what he wants. Well, one way or the other gives him what he wants. What he really wants is a new deal, but if they won't give it to him, he wants to go somewhere he knows will, and the Cowboys are his favorite team, so he would preferably get that from Dallas. But it'll be interesting to see. It's Earl Thomas or what you got, I think, for Dallas as far as safety is concerned. And Earl Thomas is sideline to sideline, and just his ability to read an offense is incredible. Like, I really liked the statement we got from Xavier Woods, I think back in minicamp, when he said something to the effect of, what was it? Basically, I'm going to make people forget that they want Earl Thomas. Like, that's my job, is to make them feel so confident in me and comfortable with me that they don't think they need Earl Thomas anymore. I like that mentality, kid, and I like a lot what you can bring. I thought you were a major steal to get in round 6, but ooh, you're not Earl Thomas yet. Maybe you have the potential to be that one day. But if we're looking at a title window of 2, maybe 3 years at best, you got to go for it now, and Earl is the answer for that. So we'll see there. Let me see right here. Curious, can you guys hear this? I've been tweaking my setup a little bit. I don't know if you guys are able to hear the kind of drops I'm playing. Well, irrelevant. But yeah, it's definitely going to be Earl Thomas or what they got, I think. And I think they are comfortable with what they have, but I do think they understand Earl Thomas would be a major upgrade that could put them over the top. And as a result, they're willing to bank on that or just cross their fingers and hope he doesn't take a new deal and that he somehow is a free agent next summer and comes to them anyway. Still haven't figured out why Trey Boston isn't getting signed by any team. Yeah, I haven't figured that out yet either, Daryl. It's definitely a confusing one, I think. I think the guy's got something. Maybe it'll be a situation where you look at training camp and someone will pick him up. But yeah, I like him a lot. I actually wanted Dallas to sign him, but the couple guys I did broach that to, a couple scouts for the Cowboys, both kind of said they weren't interested. So whatever. I wish I had gotten a more in-depth answer, honestly, but sometimes you take what you get. Secondary QB guy. Yeah, I think he's Italian Cowboy, talking about Earl Thomas there. Jesse Ortiz, nice setup. Thank you. I am still working to build this out, make it more impressive. I think I tested out a couple things. I don't know if these little effects will work, honestly. If one of you watching isn't subscribed to me, and I promise I'm not just doing this to try and get a cheap sub, if someone watching this right now is not subbed to me, do me a favor and click subscribe. I want to see if I set up like an animation that's supposed to play when that happens, and I don't know if it works yet because this is my first live stream since I set it up. So humor me with that, if you wouldn't mind. And here, I'll even unplug this so I can actually hear it when it happens. Should have a little sound effect as well. But let me jump back into the comments here. I win easy. I am pushing all of my chips into the middle of the table that Earl Thomas will be here as insurance for Sean Lee to keep that defense lined up properly and teach the young pups. Certainly could. And man, imagine the possibility of having both of those guys. Like, I think our defense is going to surprise people this year. But holy crap, if they do get Earl Thomas and they have a healthy Sean Lee and Earl Thomas out there, this is going to be elite. You're going to already... Sean Lee's already basically a quarterback at linebacker. And you're going to have the same thing then for Earl Thomas on the back end of the defense. You give a line full of hungry guys that can go get it on the front, and then you line up with a guy like Sean Lee, a coverage linebacker like LVE, and Jalen Smith, who I think Jalen's going to be used more as like a downhill linebacker. I think you're going to see him attacking the line of scrimmage a lot, particularly getting after the quarterback. Thank you, Italian Cowboy. DDP is a good guy. Sub him. Thank you. But, oh, yeah. It's on screen. I didn't hear the animation. Ooh, yeah, there it is. All right, it's working. Sweet. That's cool. Some of these little things I set up work. Oh, hey, and the thing at the top even kind of animates my subscriber goal. Yeah, I just threw an arbitrary number on that. My goal is to, by the new year, I'm at about 1127 right now on subs. We've had a great flood of traffic lately from, Mavs fans, NBA fans, and all that as well. And I'm hoping that covering both of those, as well as some Big 12 football and some other stuff that I'm going to do as well, that maybe by mid-January, which is about my birthday, if I can somehow reach 5K, that'd be incredible. I've been doing this about 6 months, and it feels like things are getting ahead of steam, so I'm really excited about that. And if you guys like it, hit sub, support the page, the channel, and all that, and I will do my damnedest to keep you informed and entertained. But now that I've plugged myself a little bit there, let me take a look. I like Xavier Woods, very talented. He was a guy I loved coming out of the draft in 17. Kid's a ball hawk. Jeff Kavanaugh was doing cartwheels in the draft show when we got Woods. Yeah, absolutely. I really, really liked Woods. Oh, there's another one hitting the Macho Man. I love these little drops, these audio drops too. It gets me pumped. But yeah, you had Xavier Woods. They nearly took him in the 4th round, if you recall. They really, really liked him. And instead what they ended up doing was taking Ryan Switzer. And, Switz is gone already, which makes that seem maybe confusing. I think it's weird how in retrospect some people act like that was a confusing draft pick to begin with. I don't agree that it was. I'm a little surprised he's gone, but I do like that the guy we traded him for, Jihad Ward, one, he addresses a weakness that I felt like we needed to address in the draft but didn't, defensive tackle. And 2, it sounds like he's really been showing out, so I like that a lot. Gives us a lot of potential with what we can do moving forward. So he could be a surprise guy too. I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, but Vach must be doing backflips. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't know that Jihad Ward's going to be a world beater, but I do think you're going to look at him in the middle of that defensive line and notice him when he's out there, and that's good. If you're in the middle, just push the pocket back, try and break it down from the middle, and that opens it up for the guys on the outside a little bit. So, very cool, very cool. Oh, speaking of Xavier Woods, who did he play for? I can't remember the college. It was some like Southern Louisiana, something like that. I'm drawing a blank on the exact name of the college, but I know I saw him play in college. I'm pretty sure he played his last year in college against OU, and while obviously that was a murder show in favor of OU, I do remember taking note of him. So it was trippy seeing them then get him in the draft, because I was like, oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, go get him. He can do something. Let's see. We are going to the Super Bowl, says Say Prime Time. DDP, I think our defense is unstoppable. I think our defense is certainly on the rise. If they stay healthy, this defense is not getting enough credit. And it's kind of frustrating because everyone wants to talk about the offense and people have concerns about the offense. Louisiana Tech, thank you, Italian Cowboy. Everyone wants to talk about, question DDP, who was your favorite wrestler growing up? My two favorite wrestlers. Hold on, let me finish my previous question. I don't want to forget that. I am coming to that question though. Our defense doesn't get enough credit. People want to talk about the offense and their concerns with the receiving core, and some of that's justified. I mean, it's an unproven receiving core with regard to, explosive playmakers and a perceived number one. I don't know why I then added quotations, but whatever. A true number one receiver. It's got question marks there, but it's also got an all-pro running back. It's also got certainly the most expensive offensive line in the league, but probably a top 3 offensive line, if not the best. And that pretty much covers the gist of it there. So, I mean, you got 3 offensive linemen who are the top of their positions, and you got another one who I think is in the top 3. So you're paying a lot on that offensive line, and you got the running back. Your defense is, I think, very underrated. I think it's going to be much better this year because I put a lot of stock in that young secondary, and I think the defensive line is finally coming into form as well. So if the middle can be better, if LVE can be what the Cowboys think he can be, and if Jalen Smith can be better, healthier, stronger, a little bit more. At times, I think Jalen Smith second-guessed himself last year. If he's better this year and LVE is what they expect him to be, I think this is going to be a top 5 defense, an elite defense. And if you've got the running game and a defense, doesn't matter if you have a number 1 receiver, because it'll be those 2 facets will make Dak's life so much easier. They'll be able to do whatever they want and or need. And I'm going to pull some interesting stats too. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to do some research and do a dive here on a stretch last season when this is regarding the offense and the perception of it not being a high-scoring offense and all of that. But I'll get into all that later. So let me find that question back there. Oh, my favorite wrestler growing up, asks Andrew. DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, the guy who I pay homage to kind of with this moniker, he was probably my favorite. Now, not my initial favorite. My initial favorite was Sting, but that was because I started watching wrestling, at least became aware of it, in like 1995, and Sting had the blonde flat top and the rainbow face paint and all that, and I just thought it looked like a superhero to me. So as a kid, I loved that. And so that was my favorite wrestler. I think the first time I went to a live show then was 97, and I went to a live taping in Oklahoma City with my parents, and I didn't really know much about wrestling other than Sting and like Ric Flair. And I remember after DDP's match, he hits the diamond cutter, wins the match, and he goes through the crowd. And I'd never seen that before. And he crosses right in front of my face, and I'm just like looking up, just like mystified, like, oh, like who is that? And some guy in the crowd next to me is like, that's Diamond effing Dallas Page. And other than my mom trying to be like, oh, earmuffs, I was mystified. And at that point, DDP became one of my favorites. I see Primetime looking on the WWF/E side. If we look at that, then Michaels is up there. I do like DX heel Michaels, but that one gets murky. I'll get into that at a different time. But yeah, DDP is probably my favorite wrestler growing up, and I respect the hell out of everything he's done after his career with DDP Yoga and saving the life of guys like Jake Snake Roberts and all that. Greetings from Finland, says Junas. Oh, man, that's what's up. Greetings indeed. salute for watching. Stone Cold, another good option in there. Andrew is now going to be a little disappointed, I guess. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't seem to see eye to eye on that one. I am originally from Norman, Oklahoma, so my ties run there. But hey, it's not about what we disagree on, it's what we agree on. And we bleed silver and blue, and we're both fans of, well, silver and blue, Cowboys. I was going to say Mavericks, and then I realized that's not a given, actually. But, yeah, Cowboys is all that matters that we agree on. So, let me see here. Italian Cowboy, LVE can't even make it past OTAs. Yeah, there's been, I think they've been extra protective of him, though, honestly. It was like an ankle sprain and all of that, and I think they're just trying to be extra protective of him because they want him to be ready for training camp, and they didn't want to risk some kind of silly injury there. So that's the route they ended up going, and I think he'll be fine, honestly. I really do. It's just a matter of him getting out there, and he can still learn a lot even if he's not physically on the field for things like OTAs. DDP, what do you think of Cedric Wilson? I like a lot what Cedric Wilson could possibly bring to this team. Oh, shout out on Facebook to Sean Carringer. Let me put this thing back in so you guys don't hear the double ding on my side. That one's just something on my Facebook, I think. But yeah, shout out to Sean. I like Cedric Wilson a lot. I think he brings an interesting dimension to this receiving core, and I think he's going to be one of those guys to take a look at. There might not be a big star-studded guy who's your number one receiver in this year, but it's going to be a very interesting discussion, and I'm going to try and really break this down, especially with Law and James, try and look at some of basically what we think the depth chart's going to be for the receiving core, because that gets really interesting because it's crowded, man. It's really, really crowded. And Lance Lenoir, he's really shown out. Noah Brown, he's shown out. I like a lot what they can bring to the table. And they're both more in that mold, at least, of a classic number one receiver, the big body wide receiver. So there could be something there for them, a role in terms of just that type and what they could bring. But I don't know. It's going to be tough. You're going to have a couple guys who you really like that just can't quite get there, and they're going to be on the outside looking in, unfortunately. And you can only stash them on practice squad for a year, maybe two. So like Lenoir, he might be out of time. Someone might pluck him off the roster, or Cowboys might ultimately look on another direction after this year, even if they store him one more year. Italian Cowboy, hope I'm wrong about LVE. Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of, I mean, all of us did. James, Law, and I all got a lot of crap for our reaction in our live stream to the Cowboys taking LVE with the 19th pick. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But his health was a concern for me. I do think he's capable of being better for them. I was just really, really high at that point on Harold Landry. Like, I was fine not trading up, even if it meant just 2 spots to go get the safety that we really liked, whose name somehow escapes me at this exact moment. But Harold Landry was who I really wanted. And not only didn't he go there, I'm pretty sure he slipped into the top of the second round, which was amazing, because then I thought, okay, you got LVE. If you're willing to move up and get him in round 2, I forgive you and I'm happy. But then it worked out for them because I think Connor Williams was a great pickup too. I think they got 3 top 50 players in the draft. I really do. The thing about that is, I would tell you that how I personally view those top 50 is, I would say Connor Williams, Michael Gallup, LVE. That's just my general impression. I'm more than happy to be wrong on that. But for me, LVE's neck in particular was a Derwin James. Yes, thank you guys. I knew it started with a D and a James, but I was like, Dwayne, that's not right. But yeah, the neck for me was a major concern, and as a result, I kind of steered clear or at least in terms of my projections. Whenever someone would ask me to say who I wanted them to take, I never mentioned LVE, although I did mention he's oddly seems to be a favorite for them. Sounds like they did their homework on it, though, so hopefully I'm wrong, and I'll gladly show the clip 100 times in a row, if whether right or, well, not right or wrong. I'm not that braggadocious, but if I'm wrong, I'll show it 100 times, and I'll wear a dunce cap or whatever and say, look, I was the idiot who was wrong. I'm not afraid to be wrong and to admit I'm wrong. I just try to give you guys my best analysis, opinion, whatever, and if it's right, great. If not, I'll own it. Let's see here. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I like Noah, Gallup, Cedric, and, of course, Hearns and Bees. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think they're actually kind of fortunate that they're listing Tavon as a running back, because if not, that's just one more guy in there, man. So listing him as a running back and probably the third back on this, I think, is going to help him. And you're going to have guys that are camp favorites every year that can't quite get over the hump. You're going to have, like, Darius Jackson. I like him a lot, but you know, I really think that I think that with Smith, I think that with obviously Zeke, and then with Tavon being kind of a running back receiver hybrid, but listed as a running back, I really think it's going to be tough for someone like Jackson to sniff the roster. Okay. I see someone asking here my thoughts on Rico on Facebook. Sean, salute. Rico, I saw the tape of him working out, running routes and all that, and he looks good. I like it. He looks fast. He looks big and explosive. He looks basically like a tank. Once he gets ahead of steam, he's going to be tough to stop. He's going to be running guys over, getting to his break points on the route. So I like a lot what I'm seeing from him. The question is going to be what it usually is. Not what it usually is. What it's been perceived to be. No one's doubted his athletic ability. No one's doubted his size or strength or anything like that. The questions have continually been, can he block and can he recognize what the defense is doing and adjust to it accordingly? He has to be on the same page with his quarterback. If he can do those things... Oh, Mavs fan since early 2000s. I thought Jonas was saying he was a fan of mine since the early 2000s. I was like, wow, I wasn't even doing a show yet. Shout out, salute. But yeah, if he can adjust for those things, then he'll have a shot. But that's a big question mark for me. And I don't think there's going to be another year of stashing him on practice squad. I think it's make or break for him. If he doesn't make the roster this year, someone else is going to pick him up. Foch going live now, DDP. Wonder what that's about. Private joke. All right. No worries. But yeah, let's see. How long have I been going here? About 40 minutes I've been going. All right. If you guys got a couple questions, hit me up in the chat. I'll take a few quick questions here before I wrap this one up. This was just kind of an impromptu stream here, so let me know what you think. I'm going to try and do some more of these certainly as we get going, obviously with training camp and then preseason and the season starting up. I'm going to start adding in an extra kind of weekly show kind of sandwiched in the early part of the week like this, although this week made it easier with the Rico news today. Or not Rico news, Randy Gregory. I got caught looking at the last question I answered. Let's see. DDP, Mavs fan since early 2000s. Oh, man, that's what's up. Thank you. Thanks for checking out the page. If you haven't already, subscribe because we do plenty of Mavs stuff now. I didn't get to do very much of it last year. Italian Cowboy, cool background. Thank you, sir. I didn't get to do very much last year on the Mavs front, but I'm trying to kind of build that up more this year. I think there's a lot more I can do, and the important thing there is I'm kind of trying to diversify a little bit of the content, because the idea for the Dallas Prospect was always that we were Dallas sports and all things pop culture. So while Cowboys is the biggest division of our fans, and I'm going to keep giving everyone all the Cowboys content I can, I'm also going to have to cover on some of those other things as well. So Mavericks are the next team that I'm most knowledgeable about, and I'm trying to find people who can come in and bring a little bit of knowledge and expertise, if not in the form of podcasts and streams, then in the form of at least writing and articles for like the Rangers and Stars. But if you know anyone who's interested, hit me up in the comments or send me a DM on Facebook or something. Oh, got a question here. Sean again. My daughter asks, who's your favorite wrestling diva? Oh, if we're talking all time, Trish Stratus was definitely had my attention when I was younger. But you know, she could handle herself in the ring too, which was awesome. If we're talking today, Ronda Rousey's got a cool vibe going about her in WWE now. I'm glad they've written her as well as they have, but I would say my favorite diva right now, I like Alexa Bliss a lot. Even though she's the heel and she's literally like 5 feet tall, my favorite thing of a wrestler isn't just in-ring ability, it's also mic work and, you know, making the fans feel something. And she is such an easy to hate heel. I really think she's great at that. I also like Sasha Banks too, but they haven't run her as a proper heel in a long time. Her vibe has kind of died off a little bit. But looking back over here at the YouTube comments, questions, whichever. DDP, if you were in charge, would you get Trey Boston and Jonathan Hankins or Earl Thomas? That is a very good question. That is a very good question indeed. So I could have both of those guys or Earl. Hankins, man, that guy snacks. He's great for blocking up the middle of the line. So I like a lot what he could do to that. I'm surprised he's still available, honestly. I would love to have someone like that, because if you could have him plugging up the middle and then a guy, like, trick it up, throw like Irving next to him, you just collapse the entire middle and side of that line, and that really changes what you could do there. So I'm very intrigued by a possibility like that, and I do like Boston a lot. So if he's back there, whew, he's not Earl Thomas by any means, but I think he's younger, though. I mean, that's not to say like, oh, he's younger, so he could be Earl Thomas. That's just to say you could get a younger guy and a cheaper guy and still be an improvement over what we have right this minute. That's a tough one. I would really have to weigh that one carefully. My gut is that I'm so intrigued, I want to say yes to taking the two of them over Earl, but it's already a very crowded defensive line, and Earl is better than Trey, and it's a quarterback in the back, you know, the back of your defense. So I'm still gonna say Earl. My gut reaction was to go with the two for one basically, but I think Earl is the most intriguing to me still. I think if Earl comes in to Dallas, if they get that done, I think they're Super Bowl contenders. As presently constructed without Earl, I think they could get hot and make a run, but I don't have them as Super Bowl contenders. I have them as a playoff contender. I have them something around 10 or 11 wins probably right now. Good question, though. I like that. I like the hypotheticals. Found your channel after the Luka draft. Keep up the good work. Salute, sir. Daryl O. Trey Boston had 5 picks last year, and he's 25. Whew! 25. I would not have guessed that. I was thinking like 28. That is very intriguing. Yeah, would take Earl Thomas the third, but it's close. Yeah, I think so. Man, 25 and had 5 picks last year. I gotta look at his stats. That you gotta think, or the tape, something. There's got to be some reason a guy like that's still available. Something crazy like, yeah, he had 5 picks, but he also gave up like 6 deep bomb touchdowns because he blew coverage or something. But that's intriguing because, man, I think Woods is 25 as well, because he was, Woods was 4 years. No, Woods is like 23 because he was 4 years at Louisiana Tech and then now 1 year in the league. Apparently I can't do basic math on the spot, so let's not worry too much about that. But I'll take. We are missing something with Boston. I think so too. I was very interested in him previously, and I was surprised when I heard that they weren't looking in that direction. So I'm going to take 2 more quick questions, and I'm going to call a wrap on this current stream. So whoever hits up first, whether it be Facebook or YouTube, I'm going to answer those. Ooh, what do I think the Cowboys need? Asks It Villa. All right, well, there's the questions there, it looks like. All right, what do I think the Cowboys need? I think they need to get this Earl Thomas trade done. I think that it is a very intriguing thing. He's continually putting out posts on social media, I think Instagram specifically, essentially telling the Seahawks that, look, it's a business thing, but either pay me or trade me. He is trying everything in his power to force their hand. And the Seahawks, if I'm them, I get that they don't want to give up on the season, but man, they're rebuilding. They just don't want to admit it. The Legion of Boom is gone. All that's left is Earl Thomas. And that's a devastating conclusion for them. Realization. They obviously have not reached it yet. But if I'm them, I probably look to move him. The thing is, Dallas earmarked the 50th pick in the draft to trade to Seattle. But when Connor Williams was still there, they were like, holy crap, this guy's a first rounder on our board. And so they moved and they got him. And good on them for it. I think Connor Williams is more valuable in that situation for them than Earl Thomas. But that's not to discredit and say Earl Thomas isn't worth a lot. Because as much as I like Michael Gallup, they called Seattle and offered their 3rd pick, I think 81, for Earl Thomas. And the Seahawks didn't answer. I think they were trying to call Dallas's bluff to see if Dallas would call back and offer more, whether that meant a 4 as well, or a next year 4 or something. And Dallas didn't blink. Dallas said, okay, no, we like Gallup. We weren't kidding. We do like Gallup, so we're going to go take him. So let's see. Seattle, man, if they're gonna do it, I think it's probably gonna be something like a 2 next year or a 3. If it's a 3 next year, I'm happy with that. Give me Earl Thomas now. If I'm having to try and bank on acquiring him next year, okay, cool. But that's just 1 more year older on a already 30-year-old safety and a guy who's had some injuries and who's a little undersized. So there is some concern there, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, we play Seattle week 3 too. Maybe that's entering into their mind that not only do they not want to see him in a New Jersey, but playing against them. And it's in Seattle. Yeah, not just against them, but in Seattle. So yeah, that would be surreal for them. I mean, that should be a low on the totem pole reason if that's what they're thinking for why they wouldn't want to do it. But you never know. Sometimes people are a little more overly sensitive to that kind of stuff. Let's see. Played on the Chargers on a 1-year deal after playing for Carolina on his rookie deal. Yeah, I do recall that for Trey Boston. That's really surprising. I don't know why he's available. I'm going to have to dig into that. Italian Cowboy, ideal blackjack DDP. Leave the basic math to me. I got your back. That's what's up. That's what's up for sure. Yeah, I'll leave that basic math to you. So, all right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for my time here. I've been going about 50 minutes. So, I'll be doing a show Thursday, like regular, with Law and Big Game James. Dallas Prospect Live. We'll be talking all this and more. And then I think Sundays now moving forward, I'm going to be doing a Mavs live stream as well every week. I'm calling it Mavs Fast Break, but I realized this past Sunday that might be an ironic title, seeing as how the first episode was 2 hours long. So I don't know. It's always dependent on you guys, man. If you guys are here in the chat and blowing it up and asking me questions and we're having a great time, then I'll stick it out and ride it out with you. But until next time, guys, remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute.